Hi, I'm Emily, and I'm here to walk you through the South Carolina Adopt-A Stream Bacteria Monitoring Protocol. First, we'll talk a little bit about why we monitor for bacteria in streams. Bacteria are single-celled, living, microscopic organisms that are found everywhere on Earth. In fact, there are more bacteria than any other living thing. They utilize a large variety of habitats and can survive and adapt to almost all conditions present on planet Earth. Many bacteria are beneficial for decomposing, digestion, nutrient cycling, or sewage treatment and pollution control. Others are pathogenic, meaning they can cause disease. E. coli is one example of pathogenic bacteria. It's found in the intestinal tract of humans and warm-blooded animals. E. coli is an indicator species. By itself, it's generally not a cause for alarm. However, finding E. coli in a site may indicate the presence of other harmful bacteria, viruses, and pathogens, such as Giardia, Salmonella, and hepatitis. All of these are potential health concerns that could result from contact with waste-contaminated waters. Sources of E. coli in our waterways include wildlife, livestock, urban stormwater runoff, wastewater failures, and failing septic systems. Just like some chemical parameters, E. coli is influenced by weather and seasonal patterns. Typically, E. coli numbers are high after large rain events due to stormwater runoff washing waste into waterways. E. coli concentrations also tend to be higher in the summer due to warmer water temperatures, which encourages growth of the bacteria. To provide quality data, volunteers should sample in the same location and at the same time of day each month. Make sure to sample in a well-mixed area of flowing water and during normal flow conditions. Never sample at the end of a pipe or after a heavy rain event. Let's practice collecting and processing a sample to test for E. coli. First, you'll need to prepare your equipment. Before going into the field, make sure you have an incubator, 3M Petrofilm plates, kept frozen prior to use, a fixed volume pipette, sterile pipette tips, 1 per water sample, a digital max min thermometer, a permanent marker, gloves, disinfectant spray, and a Ziploc bag. These items will stay behind wherever you plan to complete the bacteria incubation. For the field, you will need 1 Whirlpack bag per site, gloves, a disinfected cooler with ice or an ice pack, your blank tap water sample, your data sheet, and appropriate footwear. Before you head to your site, the first step of the bacteria monitoring process is to turn your incubator on to 35 degrees Celsius or 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Make sure the plastic window pieces fit firmly in the styrofoam. Use the buttons on the top of the incubator to increase or decrease the temperature as needed. Press and hold the set button until the numbers flash to change the temperature. Press the set button again to lock in the temperature. Avoid placing the incubator in drafty areas or near windows. Next, prepare your field blank. Label a Whirlpack bag with the date, time, and the word blank. Tear the seal, then use the white tabs to open the bag. Never touch the inside of the bag. Fill the Whirlpack bag 2/3 full with water from your sink. Hold the bag using the ends of the twist ties and whirl the bag shut in a circular motion, spinning away from you. Look away from the bag while doing this to avoid getting hit by water drops in your face. Twist the ends together and squeeze the bag to check the seal. Then place it in your disinfected cooler on ice. Take the cooler with the blank inside with you to the field. You will also need to bring another unopened Whirlpack bag to collect your stream sample. You'll label this in the field with your site name or ID number, the date, and the time that you collect the water. Once at your stream site, use the Adopt-A Stream data sheet to record site observations. Collecting a stream sample for bacterial monitoring should be the last thing you do before leaving the site. Make sure to wear gloves and appropriate footwear. Choose a place in the middle of the stream that has flowing water. You'll collect the sample upstream from where you're standing. After removing the seal from the Whirlpack, open the bag underneath the water surface and fill it 2/3 full. Grab the twist ties and whirl the bag to create a firm seal. Twist the ties closed and squeeze the bag to check for leaks. Immediately place the stream sample into the disinfected cooler on ice. Allowing the sample to heat up or be exposed to UV light can alter the results. Optimal holding time for the water sample is less than 6 hours if it continues to be on ice or refrigerated prior to incubation. However, you have up to 24 hours to process the sample before it's no longer valid. Bacteria samples need to be incubated for 24 hours, plus or minus 1 hour, before reading the results, which means you'll need to plan the date and time of your sampling event for when you know you'll be available to read the results 23 to 25 hours after beginning incubation. For example, if you plate your sample at 2 p.m. today, you can read your results between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. tomorrow. Always record the data as soon as possible in the database and be sure to enter values for each plate incubated. When you're ready to start the incubation process, you'll need to have your incubator at a stable temperature of 35 degrees Celsius or 95 degrees Fahrenheit, plus or minus 1 degree. Wear gloves throughout the entire process of plating and incubating your stream sample, and make sure your space is clean and dry. Place the max min thermometer inside of the incubator. Remove the frozen 3M Petrofilm plates from the freezer. You'll need 1 Petrofilm plate for the blank and 3 plates for each site that you sample. Label them accordingly. 1 plate will be labeled blank with the time and date, and the others will be labeled with the site name, time, and date. The plates should be allowed to come to room temperature before adding water to them. This only takes a few minutes. Gently shake the Whirlpack bags to stir up the water samples. If needed, place the bags upright inside of a cup to prevent them from falling over. Next, gently place a sterile tip on the pipette using only the pipette itself. Be careful not to touch the sterile tip with anything else. Always keep the pipette vertical, especially when there's water in the sterile tip. You'll need to use a separate sterile tip for each Whirlpack bag. So in other words, use 1 tip for the blank and use a second tip for the 3 stream sample plates. To load the pipette, press the plunger down to the first stop or point where you feel resistance. While holding the plunger at that point, place the tip in the water, then slowly release the plunger. This will load an exact amount of water into the sterile tip. One of the most common mistakes is loading too much water into the tip by ignoring the first stop. Lift the top film off the Petrofilm plate. Only hold the film by the corners, as touching the center of the film or the pink part of the plate will contaminate your sample. Hold the pipette over the plate and expel the water sample by pressing the plunger all the way down. Never let the sterile tip touch any part of the Petrofilm plate. If you do, discard the plate and tip and start the process over. Slowly replace the film so no air bubbles are trapped. If air bubbles are present, discard that plate and start a new one. The water should spread out to cover the entire pink circular area of the plate. You can slightly tilt the plate to distribute the water evenly. However, if water spills out the side, you must discard the plate and start a new one. Repeat this process for the other plates. Leave them to set for 1 minute before placing them inside the incubator. Plates can be stacked if you're testing samples from multiple sites at the same time. Incubate at 35 degrees Celsius plus or minus 1 degree for 24 hours plus or minus 1 hour. Wipe the work area with disinfectant. After 24 hours, it's time to read the results. Wear gloves to remove the plates from the incubator and examine each plate individually to count bacteria colonies. You'll first want to check your blank sample plate. There should never be any blue or red dots or bacteria colony growth on your blank plate. If there are, You must not submit this stream E. coli data to the database, as these results are considered invalid. Resample your tap water or blank source immediately and contact your water supplier or disinfect your well if colonies continue to show up on the blank sample. If your blank is clear, you can move on to counting colonies on your sample plates. E. coli colonies appear blue and have a gas bubble. The bubbles can be any shape or size, and some colonies may have more than one bubble associated with them. Note that you may see colonies that are blue with no air bubbles. Do not count these. You may also see red colonies on your plate, which are other types of coliform bacteria, but they are not E. coli. Record only the number of E. coli colonies on each plate. In rare cases, your plate may appear purple with hundreds of blue dots that are too small to tell if they have bubbles or not. In this case, you have a too numerous to count result, or TNTC. This is a high bacteria count and will warrant further action. Upload all test results to the South Carolina AdoptaStream database as soon as possible. The database generates your final bacteria count for you. However, the result is simply the average of your 3 stream sample Petrofilm plates times 100 milliliters. If this value is ever over 1,000 CFU per 100 milliliters, which includes TNTC results, it is considered a high bacteria count. An alert will automatically be sent from the database to the state team and to any local officials or organizations who have signed up for these emails. Please resample as soon as possible and contact your trainer or an AdoptaStream staff member. Always enter data from both sampling trips. To dispose of your used plates, open each plate to spray with a 10% bleach solution or antibacterial spray. Place the Petrofilm plates inside a sealed bag and dispose of them in household trash. To store leftover Petrofilm plates, make sure open packages are taped shut and placed inside a sealable bag or Tupperware and placed back into the freezer. Be extra careful during transport to keep plates flat, dry, and frozen when letting others use your kit. Check expiration dates on the back of each packet prior to each use. Monitoring for bacteria should be done monthly. If you ever have questions or need assistance, please reach out to your trainer or a member of the state team. Thank you for being a South Carolina AdoptaStream volunteer.